we begin tonight with more and more signs of the sheer open gangsterism of the current iteration of the U.S. government. We have Donald Trump's Department of Justice ordering the corruption case against New York City Mayor Eric Adams to be dismissed, but in a way that keeps him on the hook for future prosecution if he doesn't play ball. And he isn't the only Trump ally breathing a sigh of relief, at least for now. Federal prosecutors in Manhattan have dropped a criminal probe that focused on whether former World Wrestling Entertainment boss Vince McMahon tried to cover up multiple allegations of sexual misconduct. Those charges sound so familiar, don't they? I'm gonna noodle on it to see if I can recall what they're similar to. And it must be totally coincidental that McMahon's wife, Linda, is Trump's choice for education secretary and will likely breeze through her confirmation hearing starting tomorrow, since every Senate Republican has been brought to heel like good doggies for fear of Trump and his boss, Elon's wrath. Meanwhile, Trump, Musk, Inc. are still mowing down federal departments. We're hearing reports from states of money not arriving when it should. And we've now seen the first death attributed to the mauling of USAID. In the nation of Myanmar, a 71-year-old refugee who was residing in a Thai displacement camp has reportedly died after her oxygen supply was cut off after the USAID hospital where she received her oxygen treatments closed due to the withdrawal of U.S. foreign aid. This whole, Christian nation thing is working out just great. The upheaval is unfolding here at home, too, but not without signs of resistance. Check out this sign unfurled by an artist in D.C. Elon is stealing your data. The message is getting across. Shares of Tesla have had a tough run since Trump's inauguration, with the stock falling 13% since late January, according to Barron's, as customers look elsewhere for their electric vehicles. Not that Elon is hurting, actually far from it. The Lever is reporting that he just nabbed a lucrative new space contract, as Musk's DOGE, or as Rachel Maddow likes to say, doggy, is reportedly canceling federal education contracts in the name of frugality. His rocket company, SpaceX, this week cemented an updated NASA contract, adding millions of dollars to its already massive deal with the space agency. And late today, news broke that Tesla is forecast to win the largest State Department contract of 2025, $400 million for armored Teslas, according to procurement documents reviewed by DropSite News. It's your periodic reminder that Musk became the world's richest man primarily through U.S. government contracts, which he now essentially has the power to award to himself, while also having the access to potentially put his competitors on the do not pay list. Like I said, gangster government. And while all that is going on, the man ostensibly elected president, the guy forced to sit through Elon over talking him in the Oval while holding his toddler, Donald Trump, remember him? He's been amusing himself, putting his big preschool-sized magic marker signature on more and more executive orders, many of them seemingly little more than passion projects of his that do nothing to bring down grocery prices or help everyday Americans, like, establishing a task force to eradicate non-existent anti-Christian bias in a country where the Supreme Court keeps ruling that Christians have the right to pray on the public school football field, or refuse to bake cookies or cakes for gay couples, or cover birth control at their businesses. He's also ending the use of paper straws. Yes, I promise that is a real executive order. And renaming the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America, which literally no one asked for and no other country has to go along with, despite Apple and Google grovelingly taking the knee and updating their apps accordingly, like this is the Soviet Union. And Trump is taking that last one very seriously, to the point of his reality show administration retaliating against the Associated Press, barring its reporters from yesterday's Oval Office executive order signing because the AP has not pulled a Google Maps and capitulated to his demands. The AP continues to refer to the Gulf of Mexico as the Gulf of Mexico, because that is what it is called everywhere in the world except in MAGA America. And on top of all of that, Trump continues to push his delusional idea that he will seize control of Greenland, Canada, and the Panama Canal and, quote, take Gaza and turn it into a real estate development and be welcomed with open arms by the nearly 2 million Palestinians that he says he will somehow displace. I'm joined now by Mehdi Hasan, editor-in-chief and CEO and CEO of Zateo. I don't have a lot of CEOs sitting in this chair, so thank you for being here and gracing me with you.
I'm a pretend CEO. Although I feel seen by your monologue. I have a preschool-sized magic marker signature too, sadly. Maybe it's the one thing I have in common with Trump.
It is odd. I mean, he really needs a big marker to make him feel special. But
Yes.
I want to talk about the fact that a lot of the stuff that's happening right now, it isn't going over very well.
Yeah.
Zateo has a poll that shows that the whole idea of seizing Gaza and seizing Greenland, et cetera, not popular.
So, yeah, we ran this Data for Progress poll today, which shows seizing Greenland, majority of Americans surprisingly against.
Shocking.
Seizing Canada, majority of Americans surprisingly against. Taking Gaza, annexing it, owning it, whatever he said, I will own it, he told Fox. 64% of Americans are opposed. Amongst Republicans, pretty split, 46-43. And when you asked them, do you want to send American troops to secure Gaza? 69% of Americans opposed, including a majority of Republicans. No one wants this.
Yeah.
And by the way, have you noticed, Joy, a lot of Republicans are running this very kind of Trump is the state, you can't question him line, which is, he won the election. This is what people voted for. I keep hearing this line. This is what people voted for. No, they didn't. No. I don't remember him on the campaign trail saying, I'm going to take over Gaza. He didn't promise it. And by the way, the American public don't want it. So this is a lot of BS that's being pushed, that they are somehow popular. They have a mandate. They won by 1.5% of the popular vote. He didn't win a majority of the popular vote. He didn't say he was going to do half the stuff he's doing. I don't remember war with Denmark being on the ballot paper last year.
I don't. And I also don't remember, even though he was on the campaign trail with Donald Trump and offering $1 million sort of, some sort of weird lottery in Pennsylvania, I don't recall Donald Trump saying, by the way, when I'm president, I'm going to use my magic marker to sign executive orders about Gulf of America. Well, that guy is going to award himself contracts. $400 million he's about to get from the State Department. A new SpaceX contract. He himself has not lost a dime in this money-saving reorganization that they're doing in these. He's, in fact, making money.
Well, his personal wealth has rocketed upwards since the election.
Who voted for that?
He did very well out of the election. I mean, this is a guy who I think you and I both mocked him. Many people mocked him for buying Twitter for, what was it, $40 billion, or overpriced Twitter. He bought Twitter for $40 billion. He bought the United States government for $200 million. Like, that is a good deal for Elon Musk. And he didn't just buy the government. Miriam Adelson gave $100 million, this right-wing pro-Israel donor. She's getting, Middle East policy out of it. Or other people donate and get X or Y policy. He got the whole thing. He got the government and he got to run it. I can't think of a time in modern American history where we've had donors before. We've had a Gilded Age before. We've had a lot of... We've never had a guy who gives the money and then goes... No, you're not just going to get the policies you want. You run the thing while I play golf and use my magic marker. And he is running the thing. He's going around and, as you said, you reported a death in Thailand. USAID absolutely destroyed. No one voted for that. I don't remember that being mentioned. I watched a lot of Trump rallies on the campaign trail. I don't remember him saying, I'm going to shut down USAID without any congressional approval, cut off aid to children who need it. This guy has made, I think SpaceX has made $22 billion over the last couple of decades in government contracts. $15 billion from NASA, Joy. And DOGE is now arriving at NASA, and they're offering the same thing, buyouts. Do you want to quit? Are they going to look at the NASA contracts to SpaceX? Well, is Elon Musk going to adjudicate? Is he going to sit on both sides of the table? And represent NASA and SpaceX, DOGE/NASA? It's insane. If I pitched this as a movie storyline, you would say that's just unrealistic for the baddie to have that much power in this movie.
I mean, the idea of J.D. Rockefeller, for instance, being in the Oval Office, standing there while the actual president of the United States is giving a press conference would be absurd in that era.
Because Elon's the actual president of the United States.
He clearly is. He's standing over Trump. It is the weakest Donald Trump has ever looked. As he couldn't even really stop the child from talking. Right? The child had more power in that room than he did.
You've seen the photo doing the rounds with the little kid saying, why are you sitting in my dad's chair to Trump? I mean, that iconic image and meme, because it does speak to the moment we're in. This is a government, even without Musk, you had Trump and his billionaire friends. His first cabinet in his first term was the richest cabinet ever. His second cabinet is the richest cabinet ever. It is a government of billionaires, by billionaires, for billionaires. But in this way, I can't think of a parallel in a foreign country. I can't think of a parallel in modern American history where, again, the billionaires aren't just running a department or getting favors or getting policies that they want, or even like a dropped SEC investigation. No, he's running the whole thing. And by the way, that is at the core of this. DOJ was investigating his companies, SEC, multiple US government agencies were investigating Musk companies. That all goes away now. And he makes money at the same time. He's cancelling 900 million of education, Department of Education money, all sorts of cuts. And yet, as you mentioned, a $38 million contract on Monday.
Yeah.
Again, if I was in the writer's room in Hollywood writing the Trump secretary, you would say, that's unrealistic.
That's ridiculous.
We can't have that storyline where he gets $38 million while no, they're doing it.
And the question is, when will somebody call for an audit of what they're doing? Because they're saying, well, we're being transparent because we're putting this online. But they've reduced Donald Trump in this gangster movie to Fredo Corleone, right? He's the Fredo in this. He's not in charge. But there's also a sort of core of gangsterism that feeds into what Trump loves to do. Bullying FBI agents.
Yes.
Terrifying them, right? Making Eric Adams essentially a puppet in the state.
A hostage.
He's a hostage at this point, and doing the same across the board. How is this being looked at around the country? Because he is acting more like Vladimir Putin, sounding like Vladimir Putin, cutting weird deals, to essentially say, hey, Ukraine, you're going to have to give up, your country in the war. There's a gangsterism to it as well.
Look. Great minds think alike, Joe. I've been saying all week, and I'm glad you led the show in this way, that this is the mob boss analogy is the best analogy. Donald Trump, of course, in the 70s and 80s was allegedly tied to lots of mob bosses during his real estate empire building in New York and beyond. And, he had lawyers who worked with mob bosses, etc. He does like that approach.
Absolutely.
You intimate what needs to be done. You nudge and a wink. You don't put stuff on paper. You get stuff done through threats, bullying, or just flattery, right?
Yeah.
You saw that with the King of Jordan, right? And people understand how to operate around the mob boss. And globally, I think, look, this is a real problem for the United States of America. Whatever he gets done in the short term, he's had these kind of short-term wins that he's going on about. Long-term, medium-term, it's a disaster for American alliances. The European Union knows that America is not there for the EU, whether it's Vladimir Putin or anything else.
Yep.
The Canadians now know they're booing a woman in a wheelchair singing the national anthem. That's how much Canada has turned on the United States. If I'm China, I'm loving this, right? Because all these alliances are falling apart. Every time he goes after another country in South America or Africa, if I'm the Chinese, I'm calling them up to say, do you really trust the Americans? And